On this episode, we'll be recording from the National FFA Convention. It's the 95th National FFA Convention, which was recently held in Indianapolis, Indiana. We'll be talking to students, former members, and current Helena employees that got their start with the blue and gold jacket, and we'll learn about their journey as they navigated through the organization and then on to their professional career. We'll also visit with several award winners and former interns that are now receiving quite some honors at the National FFA organization. In addition, we'll visit with Jody Lawrence from Nashville, Tennessee, who'll talk to us about the commodity markets and what's happening in wheat right now. Now, I apologize up front because it is pretty loud here where there's over 70,000 students making their ways through the Career Expo in Indianapolis. So stay tuned and listen to the many career opportunities and the journeys that many of these former and current FFA members took. Our first interview, we did a call-in with Tom Bowen, who actually joined us in Indianapolis. Tom's going to join us on the call from his home in Idaho. You know, FFA impacts people in a lot of different ways. Going back to the FFA motto, for those of you that are not familiar with the FFA motto, learning to do, doing to learn, learning to live, and living to serve is very important to anybody that wears the blue and gold jacket. And today we're excited to have Tom Bowen with us, joining us from Idaho. Tom's works for Helena in the Agri-Intelligence area, and he's just the epitome of somebody that's living out that motto. And this week, we had the opportunity to spend some time in Indianapolis at the National FFA Convention. And Tom got to share some of his insight about agri-intelligence as well as his journey with FFA to many of the members that were present. Tom, welcome to FieldLink.
Hey, good morning. It's great to be on here.
Tom, we had a great time in Indianapolis at the National FFA Convention, nearly 70,000 students in attendance, and you had a great opportunity to engage with those students during that convention.
Yeah, Bill, that was pretty much an eye-opener. It had been many years since I'd been there, and there was so much energy and enthusiasm, kind of a bright spot to look forward to.
Yeah, it definitely is. And, you and I talked about it. It'd been many years since we had been to the convention. Back in Kansas City, I think, was your first National FFA convention.
Yeah, it was Kansas City. We took our chapter from little town of Idaho, Burley, Idaho, and got to see the big city. It was my first time flying, first time getting a taxi, first time for a lot of things. And I tell you what, that was an eye-opener then. A lot of good opportunities that we got to take part of and some tours that we went on. It was a great experience.
Definitely. And, and I think that's really interesting, when we think about the motto that I stated earlier. And I think, Tom, FFA is a great place to build that foundation and to build your career. So let's talk a little bit about your FFA journey and where it's led you today working for Helena.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of to tee off the journey, I grew up on a small family farm in south central Idaho. We raised pigs and bottle calves and had some horses and just different things and had some crops. And started off really with 4-H. 4-H was kind of what teed it off. And as I got older, got into FFA. And within the FFA program, I was able to have some market swine and breeding swine, as well as raise some sugar beets for my SAD projects. And with those, it taught a lot of responsibility. I'm sure my parents probably have a lot of good stories of kicking me out of bed and saying, we got to get up, got to feed the animals and a lot of things like that. But honestly, those projects were great building block for me to kind of understand budgeting, understand responsibility, taking care of things besides myself. They were projects that kind of led me to where I'm at today, really, because what I learned there, I was part of a parliamentary procedure speaking team, public speaking team. Didn't go far, but had a lot of good experiences there. And also soils judging, things that I probably wouldn't have taken on without a little encouragement from an advisor. I had a great advisor that he was a good mentor that really, I guess, saw past who we were as teenagers and saw the opportunities and the potential that we had, because he spent a lot of time and effort, and I don't know how he left with any hair after some of those days, but we had some good experiences where we learned, like I said, the public speaking, how to lead a meeting with parliamentary procedure, things like that, that I probably am a little rusty today, but it created that building block, how to structure a lot of things in life.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point you bring up, Tom. I mean, some of those fundamentals of public speaking, but also parliamentary procedure, that process is simply not taught really in our education system anywhere else other than, programs like the FFA. And I can definitely see when I go to meetings as school board meetings, or if I go to, a city council meeting or any club meeting, you can always pick out those students that have been through the FFA and really truly understand parliamentary procedure.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a trait or something that you're not going to pick up elsewhere.
Yeah. Tom, you referenced, some of your projects budgeting. I know when I ran for my state farmer degree and my American farmer degree, oh my gosh, and that's back before computers, by the way, keeping track of all of those receipts and in managing that was the fundamentals for understanding a P&L.
Absolutely. I can remember the book. It was a brown covered book. And we had all sorts of pencil marks and scratch marks and changing things around. And I, too, went through that for a state degree as well as an American degree. And that part right there was quite a bit to learn and to understand. Was I making money? What's my return on investment? How many hours am I spending on this project? A lot of little tidbits like that, which is interesting because my kids are now in the FFA program. They do a dairy heifer project, and they've also a couple of them have done some soils judging as well as milk judging, livestock judging, and now as they do their record books, it's all web based. A lot of those calculations are done for them, but a lot of the inputs are the same principle of what your expenses are, what your incomes are, how many hours you're spending on the projects. And to me, that's very valuable because that's a life lesson that as you get in and start learning and dealing with life, and I have a senior in high school now, they're starting to understand why we do what we do or did what we did in those books. And it's just kind of neat to see the technology move, but the principles are still the same.
I definitely remember the days of the adding machine tape, adding that into the record book, and my daughters look at me cross-eyed when I talk about that. But yeah, definitely we've evolved, but yet, to your point, the fundamentals are still there. Tom, FFA took you on quite a journey across seas, overseas, when you were a member. Tell us a little bit about that experience. Yeah,
so I mentioned earlier, my first flight was to Kansas City, Missouri, big time, Midwest city. I had the opportunity, our chapter was involved in an FFA exchange with a group of agricultural students out of Novosenkova, Russia. Not exactly sure how this relationship was formed, but several years during my time in high school, different groups got to go. And I was actually allowed or not allowed, but chosen to go on one of these trips. And what it was an agricultural exchange to different areas within Russia, to look at different universities, different farms, and kind of understand what their depth and culture was with a lot of the agriculture there. And I was there for about a month, and during that month we did a lot of tours and saw a lot of things and people, and I actually was able to spend a week with a family there, a host family, and in return, those families or those kids came over to Idaho to stay with us. They were able to spend several weeks with us at our home, and we took them on different tours, and kind of in exchange for what they did, we did that for them. And really, it was an opportunity to see the world. I mean, literally, to see what was going on around the world. One kind of eye-opener to me while I was there was John Deere was kind of getting their foot in the door with some of their equipment there. To me, John Deere's on every corner, and every farmer or everybody has some involvement with some type of John Deere equipment. And for them, that was a big deal. They had a John Deere tractor at their university facility, and it kind of showed the evolution or the change that was happening in that country, and it was exciting. It was exciting for them, and with lots of opportunities, great soils, great opportunities there, and things were changing quite a bit at that time.
Yeah, that was an interesting era. That was just shortly after I believe the fall of the Soviet Union, and a lot of things were evolving then. I actually spent some time like that in Hungary, and I'll never forget my flight, like you mentioned, flying over to Budapest, and a gentleman from actually Idaho was sitting next to me, and we started visiting. I had my jacket on, my blue and gold jacket, which is, really a global symbol in a lot of circles. And sure enough, this gentleman, well, I was an FFA. Really? Tell me more. And he was an agronomist, and going over to Hungary to teach farmers how to grow potatoes. And I dug a little deeper. Sure enough, he worked for McDonald's, and he was teaching growers how to grow potatoes for French fries, for one of the first franchises opening over there. And that experience alone opened my eyes to the world of global food and the global impact that the United States has on agriculture.
Yes, it's until you bump or rub shoulders with people and kind of see what their story is and their avenue to get where they are. It's definitely a global world, and a lot of it does lead back to the FFA, whether they were involved in FFA heavily or they had somebody in their system involved. A lot of those roads lead back to that blue and gold jacket, like you say.
Yeah, and and Tom, just like the motto says, now you're living to serve. You and I both were kind of in that stage in our careers and our lives. How are you serving the youth today as a Helena employee? And honestly, how are you serving our customers out there that are trying to feed this global society?
Yeah, so I mentioned earlier I've got two kids. They're both active in FFA. It's fun to follow their journey and see what they're doing. Trying to help at the chapter level, whether it be by a financial donation or a volunteer or just giving them a ride to their different activities.
Sure.
It's important to be involved in their lives because my parents were involved in mine, and it meant a lot to have that support from a parent and to see their excitement in my wins and also my downfalls at times. And so that portion of it really hits home with me. And as far as the community goes, within Helena or my personal voyage here, I think being able to share my story or to share this leadership responsibility, to show, I guess, what it means to me. There's different just little groups or little community things that come up that we have the opportunity to give back, because I know within FFA there were a lot of fundraisers and things, and to be able to get back and support those kids that do that. They have a poinsettia sale that they do around every Christmas, and they try to do that, and anything that they are involved in, it's fun to be a part of.
Awesome. So, Tom, after your experience in FFA as a member, tell me a little bit about your journey through college as well as your professional career, and really, what are you doing today for Helena?
Yeah. So, I feel like I've visited several different colleges. So after my college career, or excuse me, my high school career, I spent a couple years in Mexico on a church mission. Okay. That was also an awesome opportunity to kind of see the world, learn a new language, learn a new culture that has served me well today with even the language and some things that I've got to do within Helena, speaking the Spanish language. I then went on to college, got an associate's degree from BYU, Idaho, ag business degree from BYU Provo in Utah, and spent some time with the graduate degree at the University of Idaho. And what's interesting about that is that educational voyage, I guess is what you would say, sure. Really let me see different people, experience different opportunities, and my first job as I got out there was in technology within agriculture, and it was more of possibly an engineering type thing. But because of a lot of that background I had with agronomy and soil science, FFA, and some leadership with along the way, that is what guided me to that career, and enjoyed it. Was there 10 years, and then the opportunity came to change, and I came to Helena as a agri-intelligence specialist. And with that is kind of a culmination of all of these things. I do a little bit of public speaking at grower forums, grower groups, trade shows. That once again, that path that I've taken kind of prepped me for a lot of that, as well as time management, understanding where to be, when I need to be. That's a big thing that I've had to learn as I've traveled, because most of my career has been working out of a home office, but also traveling. Sure. Getting to see and visit a lot of people. So within Helena, I had the opportunity to work with a lot of our local branches and growers within the Northwest and explain who Helena is and what we offer for technology. Precision ag is kind of my background now, I would say. And we offer a lot of different technologies with soil sampling and agronomy and yield mapping, different things that help us make better decisions and become more efficient as stewards of the land.
Wow, that's awesome. And your geography that you're responsible for is from North Dakota to Washington State, and from Canada to what, Nevada?
Yeah, Utah, Nevada, Wyoming.
Yeah.
Kind of a good span of geography there for sure.
A wide range geography, and obviously a wide range of crop diversity. So exciting opportunity for you, and that you're bringing a lot of value, Tom, to growers as well as our Helena representatives throughout the Pacific Northwest and in that entire division, that area. And it's really exciting to hear that a lot of your foundation came from wearing that blue and gold jacket.
Yeah, it is. When we were out at that convention, my kids asked if I was going to bring that blue and gold jacket with me, and I said, well, I don't think it quite fits anymore, and at this point, it's just kind of sitting in the closet. So we don't get much out of it.
I know it's tough for guys like you and I to probably slip them on right now, but I think the most important thing there, Tom, is we're still living out that motto on a day-by-day basis. Learning to live, living to serve is a very big, important part of the motto that I think you're certainly displaying. And you're doing that, and you did that last week at the National FFA Convention as you gave presentations on technology and precision agriculture to, like I mentioned, nearly 70,000 attendees. And Tom, I got to tip my hat to you. Your sessions were slam-packed, and you had those students eating out of your hand the entire time.
It helps to have some kids about that age that I can kind of relate to. Not that they think that I'm the cool dad or very smart, but I feel like I have a little leg up on that.
I chuckle with you a little bit there because I don't know if your kids are like mine, but their friends tend to listen to me more than they listen to me. But hey, we'll play that card when we can. And I do want to thank you, Tom, for assisting at the National Convention, working that booth and sharing your story about agriculture. I have to tell you, I had many advisors coming up to me thanking you as well as your colleagues for sharing technical insight about careers and opportunities versus some of the other booths that were there just, simply handing out swag. And we're excited to bring that type of knowledge from professionals like yourself, Tom, to those youth that really represented almost 48 states and Puerto Rico at the National Convention. Yeah,
I mean, Helena represents people, products, and knowledge. And that's really the key to what Helena provides. And it's a slam dunk hand in hand with what FFA said, living to serve. And really in the back of my mind, that's what it is the experience that I had with my advisor being a great mentor and a great person, and saying, you know what, that's what this group of folks need. They need somebody to mentor and to serve and to help as they are trying to figure out what their future holds.
That's right. Well, Tom Bowen, I want to thank you again for doing all that you do with growers across the Northwest and the western part of our country, and really the inspiration that you bring to all of the youth that you touch today. Tom Bowen, thanks for joining us here today on FieldLink.
Great. Thank you, Bill.
Up next is Jody Lawrence for a commodity market update. Now joining us from Nashville is Jody Lawrence. Jody, an awful lot happening across the globe as it relates to wheat, as the Russians make some strategic decisions here most recently. Jody, how about an update in the grain market?
Okay, Bill, good to be back. Yes, over the weekend, the President Putin and his Russian advisors decided to back out of the humanitarian export corridor deal, which was allowing safe passage to all of the ships exporting Ukraine's corn and wheat. And they backed out of that because of several concerns that they voiced the whole time, that the UN had told them that the wheat and corn was going to go to the most food impoverished countries. And as it turned out, a lot of it was not. Once it got through the Bosporus and past Istanbul. And when Russia found out about that, and just simply the escalation of the war, Putin looks like he's trying to end it quicker as it's drawn out now into its eighth month. So with that, wheat was opened up 50 higher on Sunday night. On the 30th Sunday night, and finished up 49 on the day after a 40-cent range during the day. Corn was pulled up with it, finishing up about 10 cents. And with that, now the world wheat, corn, and grain markets have to figure out how this logistical snarl is going to affect international grain movement, and how it really will affect anything coming out of Russia, and as it pertains, more importantly, to the U.S. market, what fertilizer is going to be allowed out of Russia that we will be using on our 23 crops.
Definitely a lot of complexity, globally, and I think it's important for growers to really understand that, because, with some of those exports in Ukraine being inhibited, it's certainly going to impact our prices, as you indicated, here in the U.S. But couple that with some of the challenges we have here domestically. We talked last time about the Mississippi River. It's pretty dry, obviously, and in some cases we were getting reports that it's more expensive to move grain down from even Kentucky to New Orleans than it is from New Orleans to China, definitely putting a strain on the global supply.
Yes, the record low river levels, and you have a lot of things tying in this year to the last time we saw these river levels and basis, and everything that is being affected by the river transport was during the severe drought of 2012, and then on the basis levels, and then you have to go back 30 or 40 years to even find river levels this low when you're talking about, going from St. Louis down to New Orleans, Memphis, certainly in the middle of it, Cairo, where the Ohio River spills into the Mississippi. So just a lot of problems. The barge weight limits have been reduced dramatically. So that means more barges are going to have to be used, which increases freight rates, which it means it just works its way through the schedule. I guess the silver lining to the low river is that as the world banks have tightened up interest rates and forced the slowdown of domestic consumption worldwide, the U.S. export program has slowed dramatically. So from that respect, the barge it's not having as massive effect as it would had we been in a much better export position. But the interesting counterpart to that is that interior basis in most areas that I spoke to, and I've spoke to people in the corn surplus areas of the Eastern Corn Belt, and certainly the corn deficit areas of the Western Corn Belt, and basis is as good as it has been since 2012, when we had the severe drought and yields were 45 bushels lower than this in corn. So you've got a very confusing situation, only clouded by the low river levels, clouded by the slow imports or slow export program, and the wrench that Russia threw into this, that now sourcing grain from around the world is going to become an even more expensive and possibly more difficult factor to achieve.
Well, and then coupled with some increasing fuel prices that we're experiencing across the U.S. currently, and in some reports saying, hey, we've only got 18, 20 days of supply left in diesel. I mean, Jody, ground us out a little bit here. Is this chatter or is this real?
Well, there's certainly a supply shortage, and you can look at it at the price at the pump and where the futures markets are. But when this administration took over, they changed policy, and they made a statement to their backers in the green energy community that they were going to try to limit all the refining capacity, and they have certainly done that. And as far as diesel being, one of the one of the a lot of pollution comes out of it. Is what I'm trying to say is that it that capacity has been cut back. I wouldn't say dramatically, but certainly coming out of the middle of COVID, when we had any refining cutback and an expansion in driven miles, you have more use of diesel than you did 2 years ago. And now you're seeing that through low supplies, high prices, and just a variety of issues. And if you look at crude oil is staying in between $85 and $90 and has broken about $10 lately. But the price of diesel really has only dropped about 10 or 15 cents and is still trading in the 360 to 370 on the futures level. So you got a very difficult dynamic when you look at the expense of barge freight, when you look at the high price of diesel, that moving anything and getting your logistics right on transporting anything from fertilizer to grain to basic necessities at a grocery store, the world's more expensive because of some policies that are currently in place that have to be addressed.
Yeah, definitely. Diesel impacts the entire supply chain, as you mentioned, Jody, not just from the agriculture input and side of things, but the consumer side too. Everything, you open up a refrigerator, pretty much everything in that refrigerator has been moved by diesel, likely. Speaking of energy right now and transportation and logistics, Jody, are you picking up any insight as far as some of the rail contracts that we're having with the unions right now?
Last check, two of the labor unions being represented in the Big Pact have voted against the agreement, and we're coming up on a date later this week. I believe it's Thursday, could be Friday, that the tentative agreement and the temporary agreement that was reached last week is scheduled to end, but everybody in D.C. has promised that they will keep the railways running and keep them in the offices negotiating. So you've got another problem with that, because if the rails went on strike on top of the low river levels, with everything that's going on, it's shaping up to potentially be the perfect storm. And while I certainly don't want to see it, just from a business and leverage standpoint, you can understand why the ball really is in the rail union's court, and they know it, and they're using it to the best benefit of their union members.
Well, and as you mentioned, timing's everything, right? And as we look across much of the nation, harvest is really moving along pretty well. What kind of harvest updates are you seeing across your geography that you're working predominantly, Jody? And how could it impact some of these logistics that we've just chatted about?
Well, the crop progress just came out a few minutes ago, and corn is 76% harvested, and an average year is 64%. But obviously, with the just unrelenting drought that we have seen, across the entire country for a large part since late summer, and then of course Western Corn Belt for the entire year, the harvest is ahead of schedule. Beans came in at 88%. An average year there is 78%. So we're moving along ahead of pace, and looking at the forecast, I would think everybody except the very latest of, in cleanup stage, everybody will be done by Thanksgiving pretty easily. And that only aids the USDA in finding out what true national yield is for the January report. And that really adds back to what we spoke about earlier, is why is basis so high if harvest is so far ahead of schedule? There's a real, confusing element to trying to figure out if the cash market is leading us somewhere that nobody wants to believe, because with that much extra harvest already in the pipeline, as we sit here at the end of October, prices should be under more pressure than they are.
A lot of moving parts happening in the markets right now between petroleum, logistics, and of course harvest. Jody, I want to thank you for your time coming to us from Nashville today, for your insight.
Thank you, Bill.
Now we're going to share several recordings from the FFA convention in the Expo area, the 95th National FFA Convention, from the Helena booth. Here we visited with several students, members of the FFA, as well as advisors and Helena employees that once wore the blue and gold jacket. Joining me today here on FieldLink is Kaysen Furneman. Kaysen is from Collierville, Tennessee. Kaysen, welcome to FieldLink.
I appreciate it, Bill.
Kaysen, tell us a little bit about your role at Helena and what you do at Helena today.
Well, I'm in the Equipment and Fleet Services Department. My title is a Field Equipment Support Tech, and what that means is I pretty much am a corporate contact for locations involving custom application. I track the hours and acres and expenses on all of our machines across the country, and I'll put that in the report and send it out every month so we can actually see what we're doing at each location.
Wow. So, Kaysen, let's talk a little bit about that. How did you get your start in agriculture? You were an FFA member. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. I was in the Collierville, Tennessee location chapter for all 4 years of high school.
Okay.
So I did competitions in ag sales, land judging. I did dairy judging one time, didn't do too good in that one, but all 4 years. Actually went to National with a chapter in, I think, 2010.
2010, and was that in Louisville or was that in Indianapolis?
It was in Indianapolis.
So it's kind of like flashback today, huh?
Yes, sir.
So some of those skills, some of those things that you did in FFA and Collierville and high school, how did that kind of prepare you for your next journey or your next career in agriculture?
Oh, it definitely gave me a sense of there's more to agriculture than just farming. I mean, you look around and you're walking through here and you see everything that you can do, and it's a broad horizon. I mean, I was president my last year.
Okay.
So getting to actually run a chapter, and it was pretty cool. I mean.
And learning how to run a meeting. I
Right.
mean, those are some soft skills that are taught. Tom Bowen was with us earlier, talked about the parliamentary procedure skills that he learned, how to run in a meeting effectively.
Yeah. I mean, you got to set it up, and it's tap the gavel, it's going, and wait your time and everything, and
yeah,
it's real official. I mean, you also get the chance to go out and just meet new people from all over, and really builds your social skills too, as well as professional skills in the same manner. I mean, you got to dress up. When you look around, everybody black pants, white shirt, nice tie. Build your professional skills as well.
I think that's really important that you bring it up. That official dress has stayed the same to my knowledge anyhow, for the last 95 plus years. It's still the same old corduroy jacket that my dad, my granddad all wore. But you're right, you don't see that students dressing up like this every day professionally, but they sure are here at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis. Kaysen, tell us a little bit about some of the things you're doing here at the convention this week and what you're sharing with students.
So here today we have our Raven demo stand set up, which is going to be a system in our custom application equipment. You can pretty much run the machine off of this. It runs off GPS, and it's pretty much showing the kids nowadays that all the cool technology that we're actually putting in our machines running in the field to take take a lot of the work off of our applicators.
For sure, and you definitely have had a lineup of students here, FFA members, for the last couple of days, and they're asking some hard questions too. I'm impressed with just the engagement.
Oh, yes, sir. I mean, we got a line over there right now.
Yeah, that's great. And they're just getting on that system, and really, I think it's a great opportunity. Clearly in our industry, we have a need for custom applicators, and what a great place to, set that stage to see what custom application could be like. It's more than just driving a machine. There's a lot of technology packed in that machine.
Oh, yes, sir.
So, Kason, we really appreciate you coming in here, joining us today. We appreciate all that you do for Helena, kind of the hidden back secrets a little bit. There's a lot going on there, managing a lot of that equipment, and we appreciate you sharing your FFA story with us today.
Appreciate you, Bill.
Thank you, bud. Joining us back on FieldLink is Clay Perkins. Clay works in the research and development area at Helena, at the Helena Products Group in Memphis, Tennessee. Clay, welcome to FieldLink.
Thanks, Bill. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Clay, you're spending some time here at the National FFA Convention, working the trade show booth to teach the future of agriculture. But Clay, tell us a little bit about your FFA journey. Where did you grow up, and how did you get involved in FFA?
Right. So I'm from Dyersburg, Tennessee, and I was part of the Dyersburg FFA chapter. But I believe I can credit FFA to where I am today and having a career with Helena like I do. But I was heavily involved. I started it my freshman year, quite honestly, before I even got into high school, working on the farm and then showing and raising market lambs all 4 years through high school.
Wow. So what kind of other activities were you involved in FFA other than raising lambs?
Yeah, so I was part of, started out with creed speaking and parliamentary procedure, livestock judging, soil judging, all the different CDEs that FFA has available.
And Clay, how did some of those, experiences kind of help you, navigate to your next journey, heading on to college and so forth?
I think the biggest thing is just the public speaking. I credit a lot to FFA helping me with my public speaking, getting me to where I am today. Here to be able to work at the booth and reach these kids and know what they've been through, but bringing them into the booth and teaching them about what we're doing here at Helena and HBG as well.
No, that's awesome, and I think that's a huge skill that a lot of folks we've talked to has talked about. The speaking skills, just gaining that confidence at that early age to become comfortable and put together a structured, presentation or speech.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about what you're doing right now in the R&D department at Helena.
Yeah, so I'm on the crop protection side with Helena and the R&D group, but I think you're trying to quit drawing those lines because we've reaching out crop production, crop protection, just so we can bring the best products and best solution to the growers. But we're testing, looking at over 80 different compounds right now or products that we're trying to maybe add to our portfolio in the future.
So while we're working here at the trade show in Indianapolis at the 95th National FFA Convention, what kind of questions are you getting from some of these students? And they're from all over the place.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's ranged from what we do in R&D, but then also we just heard from Steve Seaman on presentations on drones and kids wanting to do that. A kid just came up wanting to sell crop insurance. Wow. Somebody's wanting to be a mechanic. So, but I think that's where we can hit back with them with Helena because we have so many opportunities for them, not only for an internship but a job down the road as well.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. We've talked to lots of different folks here that are interested in equipment, and Kason, he was on the show earlier today talking about equipment services. We've talked to students that are interested in chemistry. They're talking to some of our chemists that are here on site doing some demonstrations to learn more about adjuvants and how they actually impact agriculture. So yeah, it's a wide range of students.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think they're enjoying Fix's demo here.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, Clay, want to thank you for coming to Indianapolis to represent Helena and share your FFA story, and continue that journey. Once you put that blue jacket on, it still has a piece of your soul a little bit.
Absolutely. Brings back several good memories.
You bet. Thanks for joining us here today on FieldLink, Clay.
Thanks, Bill.
All right, and welcome back to FieldLink. We're reporting here today from the National FFA Convention, and I have with me in the booth today Laura Bohannon. She is from the Waverly FFA chapter in Tennessee. Lauren, welcome to FieldLink.
Thank you.
Lauren, tell us a little bit about you. Where's home, and what grade are you in?
I'm a senior at Waverly Central High School, and Waverly is a small town.
It's a small town, and you're in the FFA chapter there. How long have you been an FFA member, Lauren?
I've only been an FFA member for this year.
This year, okay.
Yes, sir.
And what do you think about your first experience here at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis?
It's really mind-blowing to see all the different states and just to see everybody.
It's a lot of people here. Over 70,000 people here at the National Convention this year. Are you seeing? Have you had a chance to interact with some of those other FFA members yet?
Yes, sir. We have.
Any interesting states or any interesting stories?
No, I don't think I have any interesting stories.
Not yet, right?
Not yet.
The week is early. That's
yes,
right.
Sir.
So, Lauren, you've gone around the expo here. You've seen several booths. What's really exciting for you to explore these different career opportunities?
Me personally, not knowing what I want to do yet when I graduate, it's interesting to see the different careers because they're mostly the known careers like lawyers, doctors, nurses are what people try to push on others, but seeing the different ones is really eye-opening.
Yeah, definitely a lot of opportunities here at the Career Expo here in Indianapolis at the National FFA Convention. And Lauren, I hope you take advantage of visiting with a lot of these different reps from different organizations and companies. And you're going to stop back here and sit in a couple of our sessions, right?
Yes, sir.
We're going to learn a little bit about precision agriculture and sales and chemistry.
Yes, sir.
All right. Lauren, thanks for joining us here today on FieldLink, and have a safe trip back to Tennessee.
Thank you.
Okay, and joining us here on FieldLink in the FFA convention here at the Helena booth is Chris Spath. Chris is an FFA advisor and vocational education instructor in Waverly, Nebraska. Chris, thanks for joining us here in FieldLink.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me to sit down with you, Bill.
That's awesome. Chris, we've gone back many years, and you've been involved as an agriculture instructor, FFA advisor for quite some time. Tell us about your journey. How did you get involved in FFA, and what are you doing today?
So my FFA journey obviously started in high school, as a lot of people can say. Just the excitement around FFA kept me involved, and as I advanced through college, I ended up as a ag ed major and student taught. Just fell in love with the career, and I've been teaching ever since. Been in it for quite a while, seen a lot of changes. I came in the 90s, and now 2022, things are different. Students are different, curriculum is different. It's just a gradual change.
And Chris, you're kind of unique from the standpoint you've got to teach over your career in multiple different disciplines. I guess urban settings as well as rural settings. You're currently in more of a rural type setting, but tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so that experience started out with my student teaching. I student taught in Norfolk, which was a fairly large high school at the time and still is. It's considered Class A in Nebraska, which means there's about 800 to 900 students running through the 9 through 12 hallways every day. And that's about the size that I'm at now. It's a Class B right now, but we've got about 700 students, 9 through 12. So I started student teaching in a similar situation that I'm in now. But in the meantime, I had been at smaller schools, with an average of 42 students per graduating class, all the way down to 12 students per graduating class. So I've seen just about all different sizes of schools.
So what are some of the, core areas that you're teaching students today? Agriculture has evolved, and so has the FFA, and some of the curriculum that you're working on.
All of my curriculum is based on semesterized courses. I do follow pathways. I try to start those students out in a nice intro class where we cover a lot of the basics in animal science, plant science, natural resources, ecology, and of course focusing on the science. I do a whole unit on science equipment and how to set up an experiment, how to do an experimental laboratory, so very science-based. And then, of course, the leadership component with the freshmen or the intro students. From that, they can take any one of 4 different pathways, which would be plant science, natural resources, agribusiness, or animal science, and that's just in our school. I know some of the other schools have different pathways too. From that, the more capstone courses would include agronomy, floral design, landscape design. Those are kind of in the plant world. I'm currently teaching a wildlife management class that I absolutely love, and the students in there are just a lot of fun. So that would be the advanced course from the natural resources and environment intermediate course. Animal science seems to be my strongest pathway that I have students interested in. So from animal science, they can go into companion animals, large animal management, or veterinary science. And then in agribusiness, I have agribusiness, and then the advanced course there is agriculture sales and marketing.
Sure, and again, listen to the coursework here. It's a very wide range of curriculum that students are exposed to because, quite frankly, at that age, they don't all know what they want to do, and this is a great platform to expose them to different areas of agriculture.
And I always tell my students, especially in that freshman or intro level, I love that you have experiences, and I love that you love the experiences that you're having, but I also love that you don't like some of the experiences because that's helping you narrow down your career field that you're really interested in.
Yeah, definitely. And then, specifically, with technology becoming a bigger part of agriculture today, what are some of the areas that you're experiencing from an agriculture, technology standpoint?
So I am currently teaching the curriculum for agriculture science education courses, which is CASE for short. In the CASE courses, there's a lot of science-based lessons that we use the Vernier lab equipment, which is pretty high technology, and we collect some pretty good data that we can compare. The precision ag field is just huge, and a lot of the students are leaning towards those types of things. So the technology is quite intense, even to the point in my wildlife management class that I mentioned before. We've got some pretty high-tech game cams that we set up so we can track some game and movement and such, where they move at what time of the day are they moving, and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of technology involved.
Yeah, definitely, and we're certainly incorporating more of that into our everyday lives here at Helena and across all of agriculture. That's concerned. Well, Chris, we're really excited for your commitment to this industry, to agriculture, to developing the youth that, quite frankly, they're going to help continue to feed all of us one day.
Yeah, they sure are. And they really get excited when you take them into a new environment, for example, a greenhouse or out in a field somewhere or up close with animals. They really get excited on those hands-on experiences. So we try to provide as many of those as we can.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. It's taking kids not just in the classroom, but getting them out into the real world to touch and feel, those actual experiences that help, produce the food and fiber and fuel that we all, appreciate and need.
And FFA does a really nice job through their career education and the career development events that the students compete in, where they get to go out in the field and really get their hands dirty and applying things that they learn in the classroom. So, FFA just does a great job bringing that full circle for the students trying to figure out a career.
Yeah.
And that's why we have groups like Helena here. It's a great opportunity.
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing your students by today to sit in some of our sessions to learn a little bit more about our precision platform, along with some of the chemistry that we're developing here. That's pretty unique to them, and really just to expose them to different aspects of agriculture.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Bill.
Thanks for joining us, Chris. Joining us here now on the FieldLink at the National FFA Convention is Cole Hansen. And Cole is a former Helena intern that's joining us here, attending the National FFA Convention. And Cole, welcome to FieldLink.
I appreciate it, sir. Thank you for having me on.
Well, Cole, why don't we start off a little bit and tell us a little bit about your FFA journey and really, how it molded you to get to where you're at today.
How it kind of started for me was 6th grade when I was able to join the FFA. I kind of got my start in 4-H prior to that, showing livestock.
Sure.
And that's where the love came from. I realized that once I got into 6th grade, I could wear the FFA jacket and do the same thing. And so then it went on from there. Started doing all the contests like forestry, nursery, and landscape. And that kind of shaped my love for the agriculture industry as a whole, rather than just the livestock side of the ag industry. And and that just kind of molded me and shaped me and led me to my career path, which is agriculture, and primarily like agribusiness management with like a concentration in plant science.
Sure.
And then this wonderful opportunity showed up knocking on my door last summer.
Okay.
And I got the opportunity to go up to work in Georgia with the turf and ornamental side of the business.
Oh, wow. And so you work for Helena in the turf and ornamental side. But your FFA journey, let's talk about some of the things that you did and experienced while in high school, some of the contests and so forth that helped you out in developing you.
I would say for sure the hands-on contest with plant identification and weed identification. So like, forestry, citrus. Citrus is one unique to Florida. I think only Florida and California are the only 2 states that do that contest, which is really cool.
Wow.
So you can't compete at the national level, but it's still a lot of fun. And then also nursery and landscape. I did floriculture too. I was a flower boy a little bit.
There you go.
That was fun. I did some speaking contests too. I did PARPRO, which is parliamentary procedure. Mm-hmm. That's the procedure that you follow in all the major, I guess you would say, company meetings. And,
sure.
Even in the courtrooms, usually they try to follow the Robert's Rules of Order. And also I did prepared public speaking. So that's where you prepare the speech and give about a 6 to 8 minute speech in front of a panel of judges and an audience, and they get to ask you questions on it. So
awesome.
That's where it kind of started for me. And then I said, you know what, let's. My senior year, I was like, let's go out to be a Florida FFA state officer. And luckily, the Lord blessed me, and I was able to take on that opportunity, and I had the best year. And then I started college.
So Cole, tell us a little bit about your state officer experience. What offices did you hold, and to talk to our audience a little bit about that experience.
Absolutely. So we had a rigorous screening process that took place over the course of 2 different days. We went through, I think, 7 or 8 different interviews, including a written exam, and it was rigorous, but you learn a lot about yourself. And I knew that whether or not that worked out for me, that I had the plan in the bag, whether to go on to college and study agriculture or serve the FFA for an additional year. And luckily, the serving the FFA for an additional year kind of took up on that. And so I was elected as a candidate for the Area 5 state vice president position.
Okay.
Luckily enough, we went to the state convention and I got voted in to get the position. And throughout the year, we did a lot of awesome events. We hosted a lot of workshops. We got to speak to a lot of students. I went to 45 different high schools and middle schools. So the wheels on my Toyota Tacoma were running hot. I think I put like 40,000 miles on my truck through the course of that year. So that was a lot of fun. And then we came to awesome conferences like the National FFA Convention. And we're delegates and got to sit in the front row over there at the Lucas Oil Stadium, which was a lot of fun. But it's just the outreach that you get with students and the leadership opportunity that is to make an impact on their life. I think that's really important to a lot of students, and I think that it often gets overlooked a little bit because some people tend to look at state office as like it's a cool thing. It's like more of an expansion of your FFA career rather than it's really a year where you get to serve. And yes, it's about you, but it's also about the members that you're serving. So it was truthfully a lot of fun.
Well, that's awesome, and congratulations on holding that office. And you've moved on now, and moving through your career, and certainly, clearly, the foundation that was laid by wearing the blue and gold jacket has certainly paid off as you navigate through the rest of your career. Now, tell us a little bit about now. You're attending, where are you going to school?
I go to school in Warner University, which is a private Christian university in Lake Wales, Florida.
Okay.
It is they have a great ag program there. That's my major. My major is ag studies, primarily in plant science. And then my minor is in biblical studies.
Okay.
And, so being at a private Christian university, we get to take classes like
there
that,
you go.
Which is awesome. But so that's where I'm at now. I'm going to graduate on April 28th. I'm counting down the days.
Wow.
I'm ready to move on with it and hopefully have a spot this summer with Helena once again. And we'll just kind of see where it goes from there. But that's where I'm at right now. And I really owe the timing and just placement of my career to the blue and gold jacket and the FFA. And I'm super thankful for those opportunities.
Cole, thank you for your service to the FFA, and thank you for your work last summer with Helena. We look forward to staying close as you make your way through your journey, and enjoy your good time here in Indianapolis at the National FFA Convention.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bill.
Thank you. Joining us here again at the Helena booth at the National FFA Convention, the 95th National Convention, is Christina White. Christina is from California. Christina, welcome to FieldLink. Hey, Christina, we talked a little bit about your role now at Helena, working in the agri-intelligence space, but it didn't start there. You started, like a lot of the folks here, with a blue and gold jacket in FFA. Tell us about your FFA journey.
You know what? FFA had a huge impact on my career in ag. It's actually how I got started. I mean, I was in FFA as a green hand my freshman year. I was lost like a puppy, and I had an ag advisor who found me and said, you know what? You're going to do the creed. And at that time in my life, I had never done public speaking. I had no interest whatsoever, but they didn't really give me a choice, and that's what ag advisors do. And I competed for the first time and continued to compete, found out that I actually really enjoyed it. I got involved with many judging teams and showed some animals, and it never stopped. It's interesting, once you start, it's almost addictive. So FFA had a huge impact, and I kept going with it, and I joined multiple judging teams. I did land judging, livestock, met a lot of people along the way, and what's interesting is I run into those people here and there, and it's amazing. The world is much smaller than you realize.
Yeah, it's amazing how FFA connects people at a young age, and it really kind of continues throughout their entire journey. So let's tell the folks, where did you grow up in California?
So I grew up in Central California, smack dab in the middle of California, 20 acres of almonds, and so I've always been around ag, but once I got into FFA and really got involved with land judging, it all kind of put it in perspective. I had watched my dad grow almonds, and I jumped on a tractor here and there, but once I actually took it from the classroom to the field, it was a whole different perspective, a whole different appreciation.
So, through your FFA journey, obviously you're very involved in a lot of speaking contests and other events. What other kind of offices what did you hold potentially?
Yeah, so I started out as a chapter officer. I made my way to a sectional officer and ended up as a regional officer at senior.
Okay, that would have been the Central Region, California predominantly? Awesome. Excellent. And then you went on to Fresno State.
I went on to Fresno State with hopes of being an ag teacher, and interestingly enough, I went all the way through. I did my student teaching, made a lot of really great connections, and I decided, you know what, I want to try my luck in industry. And that's actually how I got involved with Helena. I decided not to pursue my degree, or pursue my credentials, met a man by the name of Don Wolf who said, you know what, you like plant science, you like the agronomy piece, but we need somebody a little more technical. Think you can handle that? And I had walked fields at that point, and interestingly enough, I walked for a very old school consultant who everything he did was by paper. And in the back of my mind, I constantly kept going back to, good grief, if we could put this in a tablet, we could put it in an iPad, we could put it in something, make this digital, how much more efficient we could be. And it really sparked an interest. So when Don Wolf approached me and said, hey, you know what, I have an opportunity for you, I took it and I ran.
Wow, that's awesome. A great story there. How, some of the grassroots things that you learned in vocational education and high school and through the FFA, that how it evolved through your career. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing today.
So as of today, I am managing the precision services for California and Arizona. I have a team of 9 technicians and interns. And what we do is we manage both equipment and telemetry. So we've got a lot of different monitoring equipment that we've got in the field that we maintain. We work alongside our salespeople and our agronomists to help position precision services, agri-intelligence services, and we work with growers as well. So we play a role with our representatives as well as guiding our representatives. So every location's treated a little differently, but we're boots on the ground. We meet with a lot of growers still, and it's been a great opportunity for my team many of them have started as interns and they've rolled into technicians, and we've got a few specialists, and we just continue to grow our.
Well, interesting area that you're involved in. Certainly in agri-intelligence, growing across the entire country, trying to help growers produce more food and fiber. Christina, thank you for joining us here today. It's been great having you in the booth, connecting with these young people and really sharing your story during our many learning sessions and just connecting with them to talk about your journey.
Hey, it's been a privilege to be here.
All right, thanks, Christina. Thanks for joining us on FieldLink. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and follow us on social media.